Hello and welcome to this week's edition of The Set Piece. Myself, Robert Grieve, as ever, with me this week is Mr. Bill Leckie. But you'll notice Mr. Bill Leckie is he's wearing a sling.
I'm wearing a
He's
sling.
a poor wee soldier. They removed the chip off his shoulder. It's gone.
Aye.
He's no longer the Bill Leckie you've loathed for all those years. He's a new man. Bill, I'm sorry, I shouldn't be laughing. You're a man in pain right now. Our viewers will be delighted with this.
I know. I've now got a synthetic rotator cuff tendon.
Jesus.
I'm the $6 man.
The bionic man. Well, you're doing all right though.
Doing all right. And I maybe give Steve Clark the last 20 minutes on Thursday.
Right, okay.
Fine.
I'm not that bad yet. A lot been going on. I've not been doing the set piece for the last couple of weeks. Been away.
You've been missed.
Travelling. I've been missed badly. You've been telling me.
Not badly. Just you've been missed.
Been missed badly. I'm saying badly. A lot been going on in a minute. Let's start with Rangers.
Yes.
Russell Martin, no more. We've been speaking about it for a number of weeks now.
Yes.
It looked inevitable. It got to the point where I think he passed the point of no return.
Yeah. I think he passed that point a long time ago.
Well, we did. We thought so. And he's gone. The 1-1 draw with Falkirk, I was there at the weekend, proved to be the final straw. Rangers fans making their feelings known again. I saw a group of them standing out beside the team bus, and Russell Martin had to be escorted out. He's gone. Anyway, what next for Rangers? It looks very much like Steven Gerrard is certainly in the running. Talk to me about that, Bill. What do you think? Because he obviously was Rangers manager before. He won a title with Rangers, a certain degree of success. Rangers fans, I think, would welcome him back with open arms, which is maybe part of the allure if you're the Rangers hierarchy. What do you make of it?
It's an odd one, Robert, because I was watching him on his podcast thing he did with Rio Ferdinand, and he was very open and honest. Some of his stuff here, if you haven't seen it,
I watched it.
But I'm talking to the boys and girls. His stuff about England was brilliant. I thought about the lack of teamwork and how miserable he was, and also just being stuck in his room. Also, it was really interesting stuff. When he talked about management, it was, if I get the call for the right club, if the situation's right, if I get assurances, and if I've got the right people around about me, I'll have a think about it. Now, that is very weighted towards Steven Gerrard. Now, and he does have, everybody has to look after themselves. It has to be right for them. I worry with Rangers that they make an emotional decision where they say, well, they won the league 5 years ago. We can just carry on from there, bring them back in. He's still working with the same players who have been a disgrace, to be quite honest. He's still working under the same, in fact, a club that's probably less stable than it was 5 years ago in a lot of ways. I'm not entirely sure that it's the right move. And I think it's very much at the moment. It feels, Robert, as if Steven Gerrard wants the job, he'll get the job. Yeah,
I think there's a perception of that. I'm not quite sure it's as cut and dried as that. Speaking to some people around the situation, I think he's very much going to have a conversation with them. I hear what you're saying about the idea that it's all weighted towards him. You may get that cup, your manage. You want me?
All right, pal.
You want me? I know it's weighted towards him, what you're saying, but then that's, every manager says that. He's just open and honest about it, and just in terms of saying, well, that's, things would have to be right. I think if they went and approached Derek McInnes, he would have questions. He would have.
There's a story.
He would have things he would want assurances on, and quite rightly so. So I don't think there's any slight in Steven Gerrard that he's saying that, and I think there's an honesty about him that he's saying that. And I think that's one thing.
I don't think it's against him.
Yeah, I think one of the things, I was going to say was that from Gerrard's first spell at Rangers, when you asked him a question, you get an answer. I think there's a real honesty about him. I think that came across in his interview with Ferdinand the other day, that when you say he spoke about the England stuff and how there was too much ego and they weren't mature enough as a group of players to kind of handle the fact that we're all world-class players, but the Liverpool players and the Man United players didn't get on and blah. I think there's a real honesty about him. There was a real honesty about him when he was manager of Rangers here the first time. And I think that's all that is. Do I think he is 100% sold in the idea of coming back to Rangers? No, I don't.
How do you feel about the idea of going back?
Yeah, I mentioned this the other day. I'm never, not just with Steven Gerrard, but with any job really, any manager going back the way, I'm never sure about it. I said about Brendan Rodgers coming back, I wasn't sure about it either from both sides of it. But then it can work. It can work. There's no...
To an extent.
There's no... Yeah, to an extent. But generally it can work. I don't think that should count against him.
No.
But it wasn't. I mean, Gerrard won 1 trophy, 9.
Yeah.
He then decides to go. It was a real weird season that season.
Well, I was going to say that. Do you know,
listen, they won the league.
Yeah.
Sorry, Bill. You can't. Yeah. People talk about that, but you can't take it away from him. He won a title with Rangers.
No, one of the things that fascinates me about that season was how much Celtic missed having fans and how much Rangers actually might have benefited.
Yeah, but we'll never know.
But we'll never know.
They won the league. Rangers deserved to win the league that season.
The point I'm making on it is that it was like you have to ask yourself, is that what defines him as Rangers manager, or was it the fact that it's one title and one trophy in 9? It depends what you think. People build up images of, and they'll remember the celebrations, of course they will. But is that what Steven Gerrard was? Or was he a guy who won 1 trophy in 9 and was basically kind of owned a little bit by Celtic?
I wouldn't go that far, but I think, listen, that was a huge title for Rangers. Yeah, they going about the 55 and it was a huge title. They felt as though they had to win it. And they did win it. I don't think you can take that away from him or those players, regardless of the circumstances. But in the here and now he's a manager who last worked in Saudi, right? For whatever reason, he decided that was the reason to go there. Clearly. He's got a life over there still.
Yeah.
I think there's tax implications about potentially coming back to the UK, which, I mean, he still lives in Bahrain, I believe, so he still stays out there. He's just become a grandfather, bizarrely, for the first time. So yeah, I think there would be, and as he says, a lot of questions for him to be asking. I think when you ever speak to Steven Gerrard, and whenever you watch podcast interviews with him, like you did with the Rio Ferdinand things, he's very impressive. You know, I think if he gets in a room with Andrew Cavenagh, with Paraag Marathe, I think these guys will be impressed by him.
And that's a big thing with him.
Of course it is. Of course it is. Right, now, he's got that aura, he's got that presence about him. Now, that's part of management. Whether we're talking about what he won, what he didn't win, part of management is having a presence. You know, Walter Smith had it. You know, a lot of guys have it. Brendan Rodgers has it.
Yeah.
You know, they've got a presence. They've got when they walk into a room, players respond, and I think that's something which the next Rangers manager has to have.
Brendan Rodgers is a great example of somebody who uses language and body language very well. He either mirrors people, or he gets people on side when he's face to face with them. And I think with the 49ers guys, and they've admitted they got it wrong with Russell Martin, and it's a big wrong, it's a massive wrong. I think part of the reason they got it wrong was they concentrated too much on people's interview techniques. By the way, this guy's now, it's a bit like a reality TV show. This guy's now 5 points ahead of you. You're coming into your last interview. How are you going to cope with this one? That's how it felt.
I'm not so sure, Bill, that
that's how it felt to me.
I'm not so sure they felt they took too much to do with the appointment of Russell Martin. I think.
You know what I'm talking about, but I'm not talking about them personally.
Yeah,
but
I think that's a key part of it now. I think they are now going to be hands-on. I think they said that in their statement, didn't they? They are going to be more hands-on. It's not going to be Kevin Thelwell. It's not going to be Greta Steinson. These guys, I think they're going to be part of it clearly. Yeah. But I think from what I'm led to believe, there's going to be a shift in how this is going to progress. I think if they get Steven Gerrard in the room and Steven Gerrard wants the job, I think they'll be impressed by him. So... and also, a big part of it is, I'm not saying there's no other candidates. There are other candidates, but there are only so many men right now who tick that box.
Yeah.
I spoke the other day doing the thing with Boydie. For the life of me, I don't understand. Well, if they don't consider Derek McInnes, I would find that strange because I think he's someone they should consider at the very least.
Do you think Derek McInnes could possibly leave Hearts?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Why couldn't he?
Just because of the everything that's going on at Hearts, the positivity that he's helped.
He's going to a bigger job.
Yeah, he's going to a bigger job. But
he would be going to a bigger job.
Sometimes in life, there's bigger things than that.
Yeah. Listen, I'm not saying
it would create so many difficulties in his life.
The point I'm making is, I don't think it will happen.
No, I don't think.
I don't think there's anything that's pointing to. Excuse me. That happening, because certainly the noises I'm hearing that's not a road I think they're planning to go down. But that may shift.
Yeah.
At the minute, Gerrard is one of the individuals they're planning to speak to. again, and there will be others. At the minute, I'm not sure Derek McInnes will be one of them. But then if certain things happen or don't happen, then that may change.
I would have, and I know he seems to have ruled himself out, I would have looked at Sean Dyche.
Yeah, well, he doesn't want
it. I know he doesn't want it. I think Sean Dyche would have been absolutely perfect for what they need right now. For a manager to come in, and every single player within 2 training sessions would know exactly what was expected of them, exactly how they were playing. You know, if you're not playing, he's playing. This is how this position works. I think he would have been perfect for what they need right now to turn things around. Yeah. But it's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. He doesn't want to work in Scottish football, I'm led to believe. But yeah, the Gerrard one is really interesting. I think part of me thinks, I think a lot of, if you had 100 Rangers fans here right now, probably 90 of them, 95 of them would want Gerrard to come back. Yeah. And I think a big part of that is because of his personality and the way they kind of look at him. I've got reservations about it because of coming back and a manager coming back to a club that he's already been at. But equally, I think it would be great in some sense because he's box office. I think it's great. It was great when you see the first time from a Scottish football perspective because he brought an attention to our game because of the fact that he's Steven Gerrard.
There's two sides to this, isn't there?
Yeah, and I think I can understand why Rangers fans would want him back because of the fact that he's essentially Steven Gerrard, you know. But I still would have. I don't know. There's something about it that, as you say, he didn't tear it up at Aston Villa. It didn't go particularly well there.
It's not gone particularly well.
He then chose to go to Saudi when, you know, clearly for the financial economic benefits that brings, you know. So
it would have made more sense to me if they were talking about him first time round, you know, 127 days ago or whatever it was. If he had said, by the way, Steven Gerrard, unfinished business, let's get the boy back in here. And they talked about
they did have a conversation with him.
Yeah, I know, but but it was quite obvious, as you knew from February, March time, that Russell Martin was their preferred candidate, right, from a long way out. We talked about on here from about March time. I thought it was the wrong decision then, and it has been proven. You didn't need to be a genius to know it was going to be the wrong decision. And I think there's a massive weight on the shoulders of the 49ers, especially if it's.
They have to get this next one right.
They have to get this one right. Because their reputation is now very much on the line.
The one thing about if they appoint Steven Gerrard tomorrow is that there will be a groundswell of positivity from the Rangers fans, which rightly or wrongly would make a difference. Yeah. You know, Steven Gerrard they would cut him slack that they weren't prepared to do with Russell Martin for whatever reason. So that would help. It
would also be very difficult for any manager to come in just now and not get a better tune out of Rangers than Russell Martin.
I think there would be
there would be an upsurge, wouldn't there?
Yeah, of course there would be. And again, that's one of the things that I dislike hugely about managers when they get emptied. Players who, I mean, that performance on Sunday was abject, you know.
Tools were down on Sunday, weren't they?
I can guarantee you that when they play Dundee United next, if Steven Gerrard's in the dugout or Ian others in the dugout,
the place will be
rocking and the players will be busting their gut to show what they're all about.
And that's where footballers let themselves down. I thought on Sunday there were players in that Rangers team who didn't care.
I think they were ready.
I think they were ready for the manager to go.
I wouldn't say they didn't care. I thought they were.
I didn't see a lot of application there.
I said the other day. I said there should be a lot of players that should be really kind of looking at themselves in the mirror. I wouldn't go as far as say they didn't care, but I think there gets to a point. Players, we've seen it countless occasions down the years where players know it's done. And that's how.
But you still got to get and win the game.
You still need to. Yeah, I would say. I would agree with that. But
see, as soon as Falkirk come back to 1-1.
I'm not the first team for that to happen.
No, I know, and that's what I'm saying.
First group of players.
And we both said it there, that players constantly disappoint you with their attitude when things are going wrong. You know, they say they're behind the manager. And
I said that.
But then Falkirk go back to 1 each. I would fully expect either of the old firm when a team that you would call a smaller team in the league come back with 20 minutes to go to 1 each, that team's going to lose 3-1.
Well, we look at Celtic and Motherwell.
Yeah, that's what happens. And Motherwell go 2-1 up. You think this is a big test.
You knew.
Now, if Rangers had come back and done what they did at Livingston and sneaked it at the end, even though it's not very good, they win 2-1. If Celtic lose 2-1 to Motherwell, there's a different optic on the whole thing. But Rangers never looked, when it got back to 1-1, as if anybody was going to take that game and say, come on, let's get this game won, and we'll deal with the consequences for the manager later on.
Yeah, and that was one of the things I think that kept on kind of doing Russell Martin. And he was the way he'd speak post-match about games. Like, it wasn't the game you were watching. Listen, I've said it before. I had a real sympathy for the man.
Yeah.
For the way it worked out. You know, the guy was doing his best. I don't think he stood a chance, frankly, when he came in. It's proved to be the wrong appointment, but on a human level, you know, you're watching a guy down that touchline. Yeah. He's not there deliberately trying to run Rangers into ground.
Exactly
he's not deliberately trying to be unsuccessful. It must have been so difficult. I said this the other day that, I mean, how many hours of joy did Russell Martin get out of being Rangers manager in the time he was there?
And he is a very positive, centred, decent man.
Yeah, 100%.
But I wrote this the morning after he'd gone. It's like, those words exactly, that he did not set out to reduce Rangers to rubble. The problem is, the people who hired him said, you're the perfect fit for Rangers. No matter what MD says, you stick to your guns, right? And he stuck to his guns right to the last minute of the last game he was in charge. But the board didn't, because the board then went, we can't have this anymore, it needs to go.
Yeah, but listen...
And that's where boards let themselves down.
Yeah, they do, but...
Because they don't support... They tell the guy what they want from him, but it's a terrible decision to make in the first place, to put that guy in charge of Rangers. Yeah.
I wouldn't go that far, but what I would say is that I think it almost became a duty of care for the individual. I hoped that he would somehow ride it out. I hoped that he would somehow kind of manage to turn things from his perspective, just to kind of... I just thought it would be better if he did.
I think he should have gone the morning after the Bruges game.
But I do think when you were watching it, again, purely on a human level, you thought, this guy needs to put out his misery.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
but I thought that should have happened in Bruges.
Yeah, arguably.
It's funny because it finished for him at Southampton 10 days before Christmas last season, and they were playing Tottenham at home, and they were a goal down the first 2 minutes, they were 5-0 down by half-time, and he was sacked 10 minutes after the game. And it's exactly the way the game in Bruges panned out, and I thought that was the night to say, we can't come back from this. I'm really sorry, you're a great guy, we've made a mistake. There's your dough, off you pop. And I think that would have saved a lot of the grief that's been created now. And you now get this situation where on Sunday it all started to get a bit sinister with the gangs with the hoods up, the masks on, and hanging about. And it's not a good look for Rangers.
I think that's all it was. It was a look.
But it's not a good look.
It's not a good look, but it was a look. I think if Russell... I actually genuinely think if Russell Martin had walked out the front door, I don't think anything would have happened. I think it was just guys that were just wanting to be seen to be...
Yeah, which is what these gangs in football are now. But it's not a good look for Rangers.
It's not a good look. But listen, I genuinely think there'll be a hope from his point of view, and I think it will be the case that he will probably feel a huge sense of relief that it's over.
I think so.
I think fast forward 2, 3, 4, 5 months' time, Russell Martin will be in another job somewhere. He'll go again, as they say, and he'll probably reinvent himself again. He was taking a dip in Loch Lomond the other day with his model girlfriend by his side.
Yeah.
He's probably thinking happy days.
Where did
it all go wrong?
I went in to get a paper yesterday morning, and the boy in the paper shop says, Russell Martin just came walking past here earlier on. So he was out wandering about, and
that's what I'm saying.
He'll have his life back now.
Incidentally, there was a story kicking around on the back of his dismissal that he's looking to sue Rangers. That's not the case. I checked that one out. Something was a few stories surfacing from down south in the last few days. I think there's a lack of club football in England right now, so there's a lot of guys getting a bit busy with Rangers stories.
Yeah.
Russell Martin isn't suing Rangers for the way he was dismissed. So you can rule that one right away.
I mean, what judge in the land would possibly say there was anything wrong in the way he was dismissed?
Oh, you don't know how he was dismissed.
No, but what I mean is, you don't get results in football. No, but you get the tack.
In theory, he could have been. There's still a process that has to be followed through, Bill.
Yeah, I know.
But anyway, it was followed. So whether it was or what, he's not suing Rangers.
What do you think I was thinking about it yesterday when halfway through the day yesterday, Luton Town get rid of their manager, right? Luton Town, who were in the Premier League in England 18 months ago, now back in League One, try to build their way back up. And I started thinking, what is Russell Martin's level next time round? Where does he have to go? And I think it might be that kind of level.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think it'll be somewhere they're looking to rebuild. Yeah. And they're looking to kind of... I think it'll be a club where they're looking for a fresh
and where there's no enormous pressure.
To go from one extreme almost to the other.
Yeah.
Listen, again, he didn't cover himself in any glory whatsoever at Rangers, but we've seen it time and time again, even with players that come to Glasgow that they don't do particularly well, and then they go away, and then you go, is that the same player that we've watched? You know, that we saw toil at Rangers or Celtic in particular. And they go away, reinvent themselves, and they become successful. It wouldn't surprise me if Russell Martin does that somewhere.
The question's always the same one for me, Robert, is when a guy comes into a job that's too big for him, and
what happened to you?
Yeah, absolutely. It's happened to me a million times. and he starts to drown in the job, and you can't see it because you're in the middle of all this stuff, and you can't see how badly it's going, and you think you're making positive changes, and everybody else is going, oh, stop talking, stop digging a hole for yourself. Whose problem is that? I don't think it's his problem because he's just doing what he thinks the best thing to do. The problem is with the people who hire. And the people who hire in football seem to just get away with it by... I mean, this new outfit that run Rangers promised to stop the whole rinse and repeat thing, and they've just rinsed and repeated again. So boards just do what boards do. They go back to their instant reaction is, it's not going well, let's get rid of the manager.
In saying that, as you said... You feel as though they should have emptied them after Bruges, and they didn't.
No.
So they didn't exactly. They weren't trigger happy.
I'm not sure they were doing it for the right.
Yeah, but they weren't.
I don't think they did anything for the right reasons in this. I don't think they hired them for the right reasons. I don't think they, by the time they get rid of them, I don't think they quite knew what they're doing. I still don't quite think they know when they've got a whole wide world out there that the one horse in the race seems to be a guy who was there before. So there's a lot of.
Yeah, but at the same time, Bill. And I mentioned this the other day, the process, again, we mentioned Russell Martin right for the outset, and it took months.
Yes.
Even though at the outset he was high on the list, top of the list, they went through a process that took months. I think that was one of the reasons why they were so resistant to making change, because I don't think they want to go through that lengthy process again.
They don't have that time now, they've got days.
Right, so now they don't have that time. But they're also in a situation where, they can't go... I mean, Danny Rose, we mentioned, there's been a number of players.
You can't go there.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
That's my point. So there are so many potential candidates in normal circumstances, or when they first came in, who they were potentially looked at, who they can't look at now.
No.
So the pond that they're fishing in is so much smaller. So we're sitting here right now, we're talking about Steven Gerrard. You're talking about Sean Dyche, who doesn't want it. We're talking about Derek McInnes, who we think they probably won't go for.
But there's a big world out there.
That's what I'm saying, but I think it has to be someone, I think it has to tick boxes, someone who knows Scottish football, someone who knows the club, someone who can come in and have an immediate impact. I don't think it's someone, I don't think they want to appoint someone who's going to come in and be a quick fix for 6 months and then disappear. You mean Rafa Benitez, of all people, was mentioned the other day?
Absolutely not.
Is a name.
If you're going to do that, you might as well bring Barry Ferguson back into the end of the season.
But point being, Rafa Benitez is someone who's out of work.
Yeah.
He's someone who's vastly experienced. Yeah. He's someone, I'd imagine it would cost a lot of money, but he's someone who potentially you could have a conversation with, right? He does tick so many boxes, but Rafa Benitez, for instance, has, and if you look at where he was successful, it took time to be successful. Liverpool took time. He's in the last number of jobs, it was like a year, 18 months, and Rangers don't need that. Rangers need someone to come in, and that's one of the things I think if Rangers are going to speak to Steven Gerrard, is from their point of view, the questions that they should be asking is, how do you see this panning out? Because I don't think they need a manager or should be appointing a manager who, in 6 months' time or a year's time,
goes to Aston Villa.
Because Rangers can't be in this position again in 6 months or a year's time. They really can't be in it. They can't continually be in a club that appoints manager after manager after manager. They need someone who's going to come in now, grab that club by the scruff of the neck, that dressing room by the scruff of the neck, have a short-term plan to get an immediate reaction now, have a medium-term plan about what they're going to do in January, about getting certain players out who aren't good enough, and new ones in who are going to be good enough, and then beyond that. And I wonder, that's one of the things I think if they're going to be speaking to Steven Gerrard about, that's something that he would have to convince them about. Because, as you say, it can't be that he does well for 6 months or a year, between now and the end of the season, and then Fulham come in and he goes, you know what, fancy London, I'm off. And Rangers can't have that.
And that was the feeling I got from watching his interview with Rio Ferdinand was, unfinished business. He didn't say Rangers, but you take it that's what he means. But he might just mean management.
Well, I think he meant management, in fairness to him.
So Aston Villa wasn't good for him.
But for me, one of the jump out lines from it was he wants to work for a club that can win things.
Yeah.
Now, Steven Gerrard's not going to get. He's not going to be the next Chelsea manager.
No.
He's not going to be the next Liverpool manager. No. As things stand.
Yeah.
So there are only so many clubs where he can go. Are going to win things. Yeah. Now, is he prepared to go to the English Championship, where he could potentially win promotion?
Yeah.
Is he prepared to go to League One? No,
I don't think he is he?
Probably not.
No.
So again, that's maybe something that points to, well, he could win stuff at Rangers if he gets it right.
I always felt Steven Gerrard's trajectory was, I'll do well with Rangers, I'll win a couple of things, I can see myself at Liverpool either as number 2,
there's nothing wrong with that.
And then next thing it doesn't happen.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Aston Villa was the next step.
Nothing wrong with that.
And there is nothing wrong with that until it's like they say, everybody's got a plan till you get punched in the face, you know what I mean? And his plans sort of went a bit south after that. I think there are too many of these kind of aye buts for me anyway to be certain that he'd be the right man.
I'm kind of genuinely kind of undecided on it. I think from a Rangers point of view, I think he ticks so many boxes. Again, from a wider perspective, I think it'd be great because I think he's box office.
Yeah,
I think.
But there are two. I was going to say earlier on, there are two very distinct threads to Steven Gerrard. One, brilliant box office.
Yeah.
Gerrard against Rodgers again. The whole Liverpool, their history is brilliant. What he brings to the Rangers fans, brilliant. He gets positivity back into the place. My turn there, I'm trying to face you. He brings positivity back into the place, right? But the bigger thread, the thread that really needs to be thicker and stronger is he the right man?
Yeah. Well, listen, you almost don't know that. You know that with any manager.
But sometimes you do. Sometimes you know when it's the wrong guy, Robert, because you get the feel. As soon as you said,
I don't think you can sit here right now and say he's the wrong guy.
Well, as soon as you said Russell Martin to me, I said on here, he's the wrong guy, right? Sometimes you just get a feel. Now, I couldn't say the same about Steven Gerrard.
No, you couldn't.
You couldn't say he's absolutely wrong for Rangers the way you could have said about Russell Martin. But when they've made that decision first time round that was so badly wrong, and they can't afford to get this one wrong, you wonder, he talks about assurances. What assurances will, as you said, will they get from him?
Yeah, it'd be you'd pay money to be a fly in the wall for that conversation. Yeah. But again, if it doesn't, if they come out of that conversation and Gerrard goes, you know what, it'd be great to meet you, thanks for your time, and they say, yep, Stephen, thanks for coming down to London, whatever it is, great to meet you. You don't want it. We're listen, very best of luck, and they both walk out agreeing that it's not for them. What is
empty at Michael Beale's number?
What next?
Aye.
Steve Clark.
Aye.
Let's go. I mean, it's like
no.
What next? What next?
What is next?
So, but that's coming from a point of view that we essentially don't know. Again, my information is that it's not. Steven Gerrard is not the only person they're going to be speaking to. It's not as if I think there is a part of it, as we said at the start, that it looks like if he wants it, he's got a real good chance of getting it.
Yeah.
Because of the reason we're talking about. But he's not the only one they're going to be speaking to. So,
moving on seamlessly, you mentioned Steve Clark. We've got the small issue on...
Well, first of all, before we come to Scotland, I was going to mention about Celtic. There's,
let's do that.
I'm in charge.
I know you
right? I run this show, right? Mr. Slingman.
Like Johnny Two Arms there.
You sling your hook. You sling your hook. No, let's talk about Celtic first of all, because there was a statement out yesterday, obviously, the Celtic fans group, that collective, the CFC, is it? The fans. Yeah. They've got together. They had a meeting with Michael Nicholson,
1990s DJ group,
Chris Mackay, the financial guy, various others behind the scenes at Celtic Park on Monday night, I believe.
Yeah.
And they've come out of it. They don't seem to be toning down their anger towards the Celtic board. Celtic then came out last night and made their kind of feelings known about how they felt it went. This ceasefire, this kind of truce, hasn't come to anything.
No, it's not.
So what do you make of it?
You know what?
And choose your words carefully.
I know, but you know what I think.
If you're aiming any abuse,
I know there's a huge self-entitlement to these fan groups. There is. It's like, I think what they want from the statements that came out after it. My feeling is that they wanted to be able to go in and say, right, you need to tell us whether you're going to quit here or not. And I think when they, I don't mean they use those words, but I think they plainly got to a stage of negotiations where the board went, well, man, this is our line of, you know, and because they didn't get told everything they wanted to know, they can always say, well, these guys just aren't willing to communicate with us the way we want to communicate. What they want to be is in on the decision-making process of who runs the club.
Yeah.
And you can't be.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have that entitlement as a fan.
You keep using that word entitlement.
That is entitlement. I don't see that at other clubs where, you know, if you look at a club like Hearts where fans actually went, I'll put my hand in my pocket and I will save this club.
Well, a lot of Celtic fans put their hand in their pocket.
Hearts fans do that every week, whether you're Albion Rovers or whatever. You put your money in your pocket, your hand in your pocket for your money at the gate. But that's a different thing from a club like Hearts, to a certain extent, at a club like our club, like St Mirren, where actually when the club was in a real state, fans stepped in to save it. Now, Celtic fans did that 30 odd years ago when they got behind Fergus and Brian Dempsey, right? But now there's a self-entitlement of, oh, well, we're not quite as good as we should be, therefore we demand change. But we demand change without taking any responsibility over what happens next, who comes in, who does come in next. You get rid of all these guys, who do they know out there that's going to be a better financial director or recruitment director or, you know, that's...
I would agree with that to a certain extent, but there are clearly issues there that...
Of course there are issues.
That should be improved upon. The one thing I did think about the meeting that they were going to have on Monday was I wasn't sure how it was going to be resolved. I couldn't envisage a situation where they all emptied the room and everybody went, yeah, well, that's great, so that's that sorted, because you've got they're so far apart. But at the same time, we've mentioned this before, for me, Brendan Rodgers has been let down badly by the guys above
massively,
him.
Yes.
Again, I wrote about this the other week about we're sitting here the other week, I think it was me and David Field, we're sitting, how is Brendan Rodgers going to speak about this post-transfer window closing, and then he came in and he was fantastic. He owned the room. I mentioned it was like the kind of Wolf of Wall Street scene when he kind of everybody's listening to what he's going to say and he kind of almost does a mic drop and kind of he has everyone eating out of the palm of his hand because he owned the situation. I think he's been let down badly.
Yeah, yes.
You know, so, and I think the fans kind of recognise that, and they're the ones who are speaking up almost on his behalf, you know. So, and what's a really, really difficult situation for the manager of Celtic right now, because how does he handle it? But I couldn't for the life of me work out how they were going to have that meeting and what it was actually going to achieve. Because as you say, they want Michael Nicholson gone, they want Chris Mackay gone, they want Peter Lawwell gone. It's not going to happen. No. I think I felt, I wrote about it again this other week in that piece I wrote about how you felt something would have to give. You know, Brendan Rodgers is kind of, for me, playing it brilliantly, but you felt as though something had to give above him, you know, that to kind of react to the situation. It looks as though, when there's talk of someone else coming in to almost be a kind of bridge between the fans and the board, and I don't know, but then convolutes the situation a bit more. So another figure for them to kind of...
who gets to decide who that figure is? You know?
So I just couldn't for the life of me work out how it was going to kind of pan out, but there's no doubt it's affecting Celtic.
Yeah,
there's no doubt this whole situation. Brendan Rodgers, again, spoke about it last week. I was on holiday, but I kind of watched his clip where he was kind of saying, listen, this needs to get resolved because clearly it's impacting in the way what's happening on the pitch. In the European game all night, you watched it and there was like fans emptying the place long before the game was finished. That's unusual from a Celtic fan point of view. In European nights, we've seen it with Rangers as well. You're watching,
and it's not helpful.
This isn't the clubs that we recognise in terms of how European nights are. So I think Brendan Rodgers will be worried about that. I think he's right to come out and say there has to be some kind of truce. But if they're meeting in a room and spending a couple of hours getting together to try and knock some heads together, and I come out of that room and it's not resolved, what happens next? I mean, the fans group are talking about the next stage of protest or kind of ramping up their kind of the discord. So I don't know how this pans out, but listen, I want to keep an eye on.
But the only people it affects is the guys in the park, and I think that's completely counterproductive. I'm not saying that everybody should just sit there and take it if they're not happy with the club, but I think once you start walking out or booing or you know, disrupting the game in some way when the players need your support, I don't think that's helpful for anybody.
No, it's certainly not helpful. It's definitely not helpful, but as I say, I can understand to a certain extent the kind of unhappiness of the Celtic support, given the money that it's there, the lack of support that the manager's had in terms of getting players in when he's needed them in. He spoke about it. I mean, I was Celtic pre-season in the summer. He made it so clear that things had to get done and quickly, and it didn't happen. Now, Celtic aren't backing down on their policy and how they get deals done. It's the kind of limmy thing. I keep saying, it's like you don't back down, you double down. And they did that again at this meeting. Oh, there's a situation, it was more perception and it's more communication. Get deals done. Just get deals done. If you need to pay over the odds a little bit on certain players to get them in, get it done. You've got the money there. It keeps the fans sweet. It keeps your manager sweet. As I keep saying it, the jury's out still on what's happening with Brendan Rodgers next. Celtic are going to need to go a long way to get a better manager than Brendan Rodgers.
Absolutely. And at the moment, everything's in his...
They're playing with fire.
Yeah, and he's in a good place just now because he can say, I don't need to be here next season. I don't want to be. If we can turn this round, I'll stay here, or well, I'll stay for another couple of years. I feel as if, again, there's always a point where you start to lose the battle, and they lost it when they put out that dreadful statement the other Saturday night at 9 o'clock or whatever. Horribly written and empty, vapid statement to the fans that really fueled the fire.
Yeah, that's what made it worse.
And the thing that they basically admitted in it was we're not very good at getting deals over the line.
Yeah.
Because other people don't always tell you the truth. Other people don't return your phone calls. That's nonsense. I mean, that's just rubbish.
Yeah. You
know?
I think that's been the problem. Yeah. And again, that's what the piece I wrote that day was, I'm surprised me that something hasn't happened here in terms of, I don't know. Time will tell on that one, but as you prematurely mentioned a minute or two ago, no wonder you're laughing, Gary.
It's the painkillers, mate.
Yeah, he's mentioned everything's the painkillers,
But I was on them before I had the shoulder done, to be fair.
Was you your shoulder done?
Aye.
No mention.
Love a painkiller.
Scotland.
I need it with you.
Huge.
You would give a packet of Nurofen a migraine.
Oh, wow. Gives it, honestly.
Carry on.
Thanks. Huge night for Scotland at Hampden tomorrow night. I'm off to Hampden Park very shortly, actually, to go and speak to Steve Clarke pre-match to talk about Scotland against Greece.
Yes.
A huge, monumental match.
Hugely monumental.
Hugely monumental to get us to next year's World Cup.
Yes.
I'm convinced we are going to the World Cup next summer. You and I are going to be sitting flip-flop shorts, Hawaiian jerseys.
Tell the boys and girls that.
Strawberry daiquiris.
In a suit, Panama hat.
Waiting for Scotland game, getting the set piece. Gary, we're going to the States. You need to come.
Yeah.
The set piece in the United States. Miami would be nice, something like that, wouldn't it?
Aye.
Miami would be nice. Let's go to Miami. I think we're going to go. I think we're going to beat Greece tomorrow night. I mentioned this in a piece I wrote the other day, speaking to John McGinn. I think the players have their mojo back.
Good.
I think the players are in a place. Guys like John McGinn, guys like Andy Robertson. This is their chance. This is their last chance to get to a World Cup.
As a group, yeah.
As a group. Yeah. And they're looking at it right now, and it's Greece and Denmark who are standing in our way.
Yeah.
I think we're going to do it.
Every game...
Tell me I'm wrong.
No, I'm not going to tell you you're wrong. What I would say is every game now under Steve Clarke is cup final. Every single game. Doesn't matter whether it's Belarus, Denmark, Greece. Every game is absolute must win. But that's where we're at. It's this little microwave down group stage where it used to be over 18 months. It's now over like 8 weeks.
It's brilliant.
And it's proper cup tie football, and we have to win. We have to turn up and win. And I don't care how we win. I don't think we need to take the handbrake off.
I would take the ball smacking off your sling.
Honestly,
and I would take that.
I would take that. Right now.
A Grant Hanley free kick, whacking off
straight off the elbow.
Straight in, magic. Bluttered, you screaming in pain and the ball into the net. I would take that right now, Bill.
Then I'd be bluttered. And that, but that's the thing, and I.
That's throwing you.
No, Steve Clarke's legacy will be a huge positive one because he's taken us from a really bad place and brought us to a very positive place. He's taken us to 2 finals. However, when we have come down to these set-piece games, these are the places where we have failed to go over the line, and he has to change that tomorrow night.
Yeah.
He has to take a game, because if you look at Ukraine in the playoff, Greece at home, the last time in the relegation playoff, the one-off, the group games and 2 Euros, where you could see them all as cup finals, and we haven't handled them as well as we've handled the group the qualifying games where we're built up ahead of steam. We don't have time to build up ahead of steam. We need to hit the ground running in this game against Greece far better than we did in March.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I'd also make the point that so far we've played Denmark, got a draw, which in the face of it,
it's a very good result. A bonus result.
And we go and beat Belarus, who I think everyone will beat Belarus. So it's not as if we've like kind of beaten a France or a Spain. You think, well, this team. But at the same time, I think we're just looking at the players and speaking to the players, just the way I just feel as though they're in a place where they think and believe that this has to be it.
But we had this conversation when we came back, when we did podcast on the roof of a hotel in Athens before the first leg of the playoff game. And we went and won that game. We went, if we had just got a result, take it back to Hampton. We go there, we get the win, we come back. And we sat down, remember coming home in the plane, and we're just going, everything's in a great place. This is going to happen.
Yeah, true.
And what worries me is sometimes we get into that good place, and on the night, and I don't know whether it comes from the manager to the players or it's the crowd to the players or whatever it is, but there's been a slight freezing.
I was going to say
what we're good at.
Yeah.
Against Ukraine, against Greece the last time, in the opening game against Germany, and in the opening game against the Czechs in the first Euros. And that's the thing we need to get over. And I'm not saying that I don't think we have to be influenced by the fact that this has happened to us in the past. What we have to do is react better to it this time and be more ready for it this time.
John McGinn actually mentioned it, and I think he's bang on. I think the fact that we were turned over by Greece in the last game at Hampden is a good thing. I think that I genuinely think,
because we don't fancy our Barra too much.
No, I genuinely think that will have annoyed the players. I think I think they probably, listen, Greece deserved to beat us that night, no doubt about it. They were better than us individually, collectively, but I think we've got better players in Greece. I think we have a better team than Greece. I think they have 3 or 4 excellent players.
Yeah,
they do, but I think
round the team,
I think collectively we should be beating Greece. I think we are a better team than Greece, and I think more importantly, I think the players believe that, and I think they've walked off that pitch that night thinking, "This isn't us. We're better than this," and I think that's percolated in their minds since then. Was that March?
March.
I was in and take a breath.
Yeah, sorry.
I think that's been there in their minds. And at this game coming up, I genuinely think Scotland will win.
Good.
I'm not going to say convincingly, because that could end up with egg in my face, but I think we'll win. I think we'll then beat Belarus. And I tell you what, Bill, honestly, what a place we're in. The Scotland national team. You then be going to Greece in a game that you don't necessarily might not need to win.
Greece have still got to go to Denmark.
Right. And then you'd be probably looking at maybe needing 3 points for your last 2 games. The last game's against Denmark. Yeah. See if it comes down to a last game, and I've said this before, if it comes down to the final game, Scotland against Denmark for a place at the World Cup, Hampden would be rocking.
It would be brilliant.
You would fancy us, man.
And then you might be saying, well, we've got to play off anyway. We finish second.
Yeah, we're qualifying.
I know you want to qualify.
Straight there.
Absolutely.
That's the chance to go and get it nailed.
Can I just say, Robert, and I say this as a massive fan of Steve Clarke, a lot of it, as has happened in a lot of these one-off style games, is down to his team selection. And I think once or twice he has outthought himself, he's second-guessed himself into a corner, and he's left out players that he shouldn't have left out, and we've regretted it.
Well, here's one for you, right? Because I think one of the issues, and I hate going on about it because it's almost quite dull now, is the Andy Robertson, Kieran Tierney thing. Kieran Tierney,
I wouldn't play Kieran Tierney.
Isn't going to play?
No.
For me,
no.
Right? So that's that.
Yeah.
Right? We've got Ben Doak.
Yeah.
Makes a huge difference to that Scotland team.
Played the last time.
Yeah, but he just, I know, but I just.
But no, he has. Yeah,
he makes a huge difference to that Scotland team. To have him available, have that pace. If we don't have it, and again, everyone was off at that last game. Like Ben Doak, Kieran Tierney, whoever was or wasn't available, everyone was off it. They didn't start well, and it get from bad to worse.
Yeah.
I genuinely think I'm going to be proved wrong. I hope I'm not.
I hope you're not proved wrong.
I genuinely, you always kind of build up. So you and I are the same. We build up to these Scotland games, and you kind of, you get this real feeling of, come on, this is it.
We always sit.
I've got it this time.
We always sit about an hour before a game, and we'll go, I'm not sure. And then about 3 minutes before a game, as the teams walk out, we'll look at each other and go, we're winning this tonight.
But then it's usually about 2 minutes into the game.
No,
you go, no.
So listen, if the basis of our team is, you know, Andy Robertson, Aaron Hickey, Ben Doak, John McGinn, Scott McTominay, Billy Gilmer, you know, you say to yourself, well,
Adams,
there's a team. There's a team that could win that game.
Yeah.
But I think an awful lot of it comes down to how the manager feels and what he puts across to his players in this one.
I think it's the players. I think the players are going to rise to the occasion. I think they've got it in them. I think they are. Again, I'm repeating myself, but I think that last defeat to Greece will prove to be a good thing.
Okay.
Because I think they're going to step on that part. They're going to look at these Greece players and think, man for man, I'm better than you.
Whatever inspires you to be better than the last time works for me. Right? Whatever it is, whether it's, you know, convincing yourself that a defeat was a good thing, that's fine. Whatever makes you walk across that white line a better player than you were the last time you walked across the white line, that'll do. Yeah. And if we get that 92nd minute deflected
off your shoulder,
off my shoulder via Angus Gunn's left buttock, we'll take it.
No, 100%. We started what was then the coffee club.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't call it the coffee club at that point.
We just called it the Hang Me.
Coffee and cakes, whatever we call it. In Germany.
Yeah.
We're going to America.
Yeah.
Great.
Pancake Club.
Miami. We're going to be in South Beach.
Sponsored by IHOP.
You been to South Beach?
Oh, I've been in.
South Beach. That's where we're going. Gary, we're going to South Beach. That's where we're going. That's it.
It's not they're playing in Toronto, by the way. We're going to South Beach.
That's where we're based. Roger, we're going to be based in South Beach.
Taxi.
That's us for this week, I think. Great to have you back, Bill.
Thank you.
It's great to be back. I hope you're the view. Let us know what you think. Send your well wishes to Mr. Leckie here. He's going on about his painful shoulder.
I'm not going to. You're going
to have this for weeks, aren't you?
I'll be in a sling for another 5 weeks, and then I'll be 4 months of rehab.
4 months of rehab.
Right.
Your right hand is...
4 months when you'll need to bring my coffee.
Well, I did brought your coffee.
I know, it's very nice.
Looked after him royally this morning. Let us know what you think of today's chat in the comment section below, as ever, and like and subscribe also as well.
Must.
You must do it. And we'll be back next week.